Thanks for staying with us. We are still on at the 2024 Global Ministers and Wives Conference. I've got with me here our UK National Head, Apostle Dr. Lord Elorm Donkor. Thank you for joining us, Apostle.
You're welcome.
Yes, we appreciate your time. So I would ask your general impressions about the conference so far.
Well, by the grace of God, this conference, because of the theme that is on it, which is unleashing, it makes everyone upbeat about it. And so far, so good. It's going very, very well. The topics that have been discussed, the prayer times, and the discussions are all very, very inspiring and encouraging. So I would say so far, so good.
Thank you. Right, now speak of the 2028 agenda, the Vision 2028 agenda.
Okay, yeah.
What would you say has been the main driving force in driving this home with regards to the church in the UK?
Okay, so the vision was introduced in November when we went to the November Heads meeting.
Right.
So the week after we have arrived from November Heads, we guided all the ministers and wives at Hudderston to go through the vision, to sell the idea to them, and then to get them buy into it. Then we take time to also explain how we're going to implement it here in the UK. Because it's a general vision, we have to look at our context and then choose specific things, objectives that we will be doing to fulfill or satisfy the vision. So we said that when we finish convention and national council, at that time, every district pastor would have, with the knowledge of the vision as discussed, and having been to his district, would have identified areas that the district executive would the national district pastor think they would be doing over the 5 years.
Right.
So we are going to put all that into one document. This document will be categorized into the 4-prong areas that Chairman discussed yesterday. So far, those are some of the things we have done. The implementation document that was touched on yesterday, we have actually done our own implementation document here. We didn't know that they would bring this one on board. So that is so far the efforts we are making to get it delivered.
Perfect. You spoke about the 4-pronged strategic approach as shared by our chairman yesterday.
Yeah.
And one of the things, in fact, the 4th point was strengthening and realigning of our church systems, structures, and institutions to drive home this agenda. What is your assessment so far of the UK church?
Okay, I would say that in terms of realignment, yes, churches need to realign all the time. There cannot be any perfect church all the time.
Right.
It may be good today. Just give yourself a year or two. It's not fit for purpose anymore. And so you have to keep on evaluating or assessing how effective are the systems for delivering the objectives. So that's all it is about. If you have been following us here from last year, we saw that the direction of the church and effective delivery of the objectives requires digitalization of our whole church.
Yeah. So
we started that process last year. You've seen it in this document. And the IT manager came gladly telling me that we are ahead of this. And that's some of the things that we are doing in terms of realignment or restructuring. Then also the ministries. The 5 traditional ministries are the youth, the women, the men's ministry, evangelism, those areas also, because we are in a very peculiar context in the UK. Peculiar in the sense that on one hand, they say we have freedom of religion, but on the other hand, you can't freely do religion in the public space and do it in a way that you would have been able to do in other places. So we take all this into account, and then we ask ourselves, so what can we do with the context that we have?
Right.
And there are a lot of discussions going on about the 5 ministries, how well we can restructure them.
Right. We will get to areas regarding the youth, but you spoke about implementation there with regards to the objectives. Let me find out from you, how difficult or easy has it been so far?
I would say that every new thing, if you are introducing something new, you have to have some form of resistance. You have to have some hurdles to cross. In fact, it helps the organization if there are situations like that. Otherwise, you can't really be certain that people have bought into it. So when we started, I told my leadership that, brothers, let's strengthen ourselves in this. So we get feedback which sometimes are discouraging. I tell them we have to understand.
Right.
We have to understand. And so I don't take it as a failure or disappointment. I just take it that that's a change process. People have done one thing in a particular way for a long time. Now you're coming and you want to change that. The human being doesn't change like that. It's not like a machine. So those things will come up, and it is necessary for the change leader to understand that this is human situation and work with the people. Once they get on board, you're gone.
All right. We hope the grace of God will sustain
even
us.
with the digitalization, first, when we started, we said all people should enroll the members of the local church onto a database. That one alone received a huge pushback. I went to one of the local assemblies in Reading District. I will not call it local assembly. And all the officers had decided not to put the names on the database.
Any particular reason?
All right. So one, they feared data breach.
Right.
Someone has told them that their data could be breached, so they didn't want to do that. So after the service, I wanted to meet the whole presbytery, and I did meet them. I took my time to explain everything and to also assure them that this is encrypted. So what's the problem? And from that week, that local now began the main local in that district, which had more people enrolled. Okay. So that's some of the things that you come across if you are patient to explain. Take the human being. No human being is stupid, my brother. So if somebody is challenging or not understanding something, doesn't mean that they just don't want to do it. Sometimes they don't understand it honestly. So all you need to do, or they have something they fear, and that fear is a genuine fear. It is for you, the leader, to then go and break down that fear and say, there's no fear here, let's go. So that's so far what...
But I would say that is more reactive more than being proactive. So away from that, have we learned from that in trying to sensitize some of the members about some of these things?
Okay, yeah. When we met the ministers, they actually made a video explaining this. The IT department made, I think it's 5 minutes or 3 minutes, explaining these processes. And then ministers were expected to go to local assemblies, take 5 minutes of the service time to explain the rationale behind the whole process. Okay. So yeah, every community and its processes of communication and how easy or difficult it is. So when you know your community, you have to understand how easy or how hard something is. So that might affect your speed. You just take the pace slowly until you've got it done.
Right.
So yeah.
Thank you. So on day 1 and day 2, there's been talks about ministry to celebrities. I want to find out from you, what is the UK Church's position on this, taking into consideration all cultural shocks?
Well, it's a brilliant idea, I would say. We've never done this. Church of Pentecost itself never done this. A lot of the intervention objectives that we have for Vision 2023 and then for Vision 2028 are new things. Right. Things that in 10 years ago, if you mentioned it, people will say, where are you coming from? But these things now, by the grace of God, we are coming to embrace them. And many of them that were tried in 2023, Vision 2023, worked perfectly, and people are coming to know the Lord. So yeah, although we've never done it, we are very happy to try.
Okay, so that now brings me to base. Are we going to be seeing the church collaborate more with the youth in ensuring that this is achieved? You know, recently I can speak for MKPRWC. They had a program. Well, we had a program like MKU for Christ. This we see as a perfect avenue to draw our celebrities and people from all walks of life to Christ. Are we going to see something like that in the near future then?
Well, in terms of the youth, it's not about near future or whether or not, because there is no other option.
Yeah.
If you need energy to do anything, it is the youth. You need creativity to do anything, it is. As for the youth, if you are a church leader, you don't really have an option whether to bring them on board or not. You must bring them on board, because otherwise you'll be stuck. What will you do?
That's
Look
true.
at what we are doing here. All of you youth guys devoting your time with your creativity and doing these interviews just to enhance the work. So I would say that the youth will always be on board. I heard actually so that those whose knees are feeble can be following them slowly. Yeah.
Thank you. Now, we'll be rounding up shortly, but there was a subject of PRWCs today.
Yeah.
And I want to find out your initial thoughts on, or your plans actually, on unleashing our PRWCs in the UK to maximize to their full potentials. You can also take into consideration inclusivity and all cultural differences.
Yeah. PIWC, as was explained in the discussion there or presentation there, it emerged at a point where an issue was being solved. So it worked for that time, and then later on it was revised in a way that we operate it now in the UK. I think it has come to the time of revising that again, because this year's statistics that we have seen decline in indigenous membership of the church, for example. So indigenous members would be in PIs. So if they are living and the number is the percentage decrease is quite significant, then it means that there is something that probably we are not doing right, or doing right as they expect it. So we are taking the opportunity of this Vision 2028 to sit down with all our PRWC ministers, presiding elders, youth leaders, to talk about these things. And the last time the women had a conference here, we had a session here for the PRWC ladies, and they said a lot of things. Out of that, when leaders met, some of the ministries, we decided to add people who are non-Ghanaian to the leadership.
Okay.
We are not explaining it, but this is the thinking behind, that at least if they see that inclusivity, that all the leaders are not Ghanaians, oh, I can also fit in there, then maybe slowly, with strong teaching, prayers, and good follow-up, maybe we will have them with us in the long term.
Apostle, we want to thank you so much for your time, and we hope and pray that as you're at this conference and praying to the implementation, the Lord himself will show himself strong, and whatever he has said according to the church shall come to pass. Thank you very much for staying with us. This has been our Apostle, Lord Elorm Donkor. Thank you. God bless you, Apostle.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.